Honorable members, the House having waited upon Her Excellency the Governor General in the precincts of the Senate in Rawson Square, I acquainted Her Excellency of my election as Speaker and laid claim to your ancient rights and privileges. Her Excellency thanked and congratulated me on my election as Speaker. Her Excellency had been pleased to open the session of Parliament with a speech of which, to prevent mistake, I obtained a copy, and with the consent of the House, I will read the first and last paragraphs. My government is grateful to Almighty God for His guidance, which enabled a peaceful political transition by free people who have embraced parliamentary democracy for well nigh 288 years. The voter turnout of 88% and the participation of 175 candidates representing 5 political parties in the general election of 2017 bear eloquent testimony to the spirit of participatory democracy. This is the reason for the exultation and pride, particularly when we are surrounded by examples of many nations with historically low voter turnout. My government recognizes that there is much work to be done. However, with the support, energy, and contribution of all, along with the will and capacity to undertake the task, success will be achieved. I now make an order that the speech do lie on the table and ordered that the speech be printed. It is also ordered that all messages to Her Excellency the Governor General be signed by the Speaker. It is ordered that the following members be a committee of privilege. The member for South Beach, the member for Yamacraw, the member for Mount Moriah, the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, and the member for Angliston. The Library Committee, the member for West Grand Bahama, the member for Garden Hills, the member for Long Island, the member for Exuma and Ragged Island, and the member for South and Central Andros. The Public Accounts Committee, the member for Centerville, the member for Golden Gates, the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, the, the member for Ragged Island, and the member for Central Andros. The Committee for Statutory Instruments, the member for Tall Pines, the member for Pine Ridge, the member for South Abaco, the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador, and the member for South Andros. The Committee for Broadcasting, the member for St. Barnabas, the member for South Eleuthera, the member for North Andros, the member for Angliston, and the member for South and Central Andros. The House Rules Committee, the member for Golden Gates, the member for North Abaco, the member for South Beach, the member for Angliston, and the member for Exuma and Ragged Island. The Public Treasury Committee, the member for Fox Hill, the member for Michael, the member for North Andros, the member for South and Central Andros, and the member for Exuma and Ragged Island. Now, we revert now to the order of business, and having already concluded the first 4 items, we will commence with item E. Laying of documents by ministers. Statements and communication by ministers. Communications by the clerk. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign a seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentations of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. Second reading and committal of bills. The committee of the whole House. Third reading and passing of bills. Consideration of Senate's amendments. Resolutions. The chair recognizes the member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, resolve that all bills, proceedings, and other papers connected with the present session of the House be printed unless otherwise resolved, and that Mr. Speaker be, and he is hereby authorized to enter into a contract or contracts for the proper performance of such printing, and also to ensure the early publication of the votes in pamphlet form. Second.
Second. I don't have a copy. It has been moved and second that the following resolution be agreed. Resolved that all bills, proceedings, and other papers connected with the present session of the House be printed unless otherwise resolved. and that Mr. Speaker be and he is hereby authorized to enter into contract or contracts for the proper performance of such printing, and also to ensure the early publication of the votes in pamphlet form. As many as are in agreement, remain seated. Those who oppose can rise. The resolution is agreed. Any further resolution? The chair recognizes the member for Bamboo Town.
Resolved that Mr. Speaker be and is hereby authorized to make provisions for a chaplain so that the prayers may be read at the beginning of each meeting of the House before any business is entered upon.
Second. Right. It has been moved and seconded that this resolution be agreed. Resolved that Mr. Speaker be and he is hereby authorized to make provision for a chaplain so that prayers may be read at the beginning of each meeting of the House before any business is entered upon. As many as are in agreement, remain seated. Those in opposition can rise. The resolution is hereby agreed. Further resolutions?
None, sir.
Okay. All right. Members' statement, continuing with the order of business. Members' statements. Appointment of select committees. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for further meetings. The chair recognizes the member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, I give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I or another member representing the government will move for the adoption of the following resolution. Resolved that a humble address be presented to Her Excellency the Governor General, thanking her for her most gracious speech at the opening of Parliament.
Order that the resolution be brought up. It is hereby ordered that the notice do lie on the table.
Coming back on Wednesday.
Any further notices? None. Adjournment? The chair recognizes the member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, resolved that the House at its rising do adjourn to the 31st of May, Wednesday, 2017, at 10 a.m.
Any second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the House at its rising do adjourn to the 31st of May, 2017 at 10 a.m. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will rise. The motion is agreed. The House,
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The chair recognizes the member for Cat Island, San Salvador.
Mr. Speaker, on the adjournment, I note by the actions of the member from Bamboo Town that he is the leader of the government business. Am I correct in assuming that?
The member for Cat Island is correct.
In that case, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to notify the House that the leader of opposition business will be the member of Anglestown. So you know who to communicate with. I also at this time note that the whip was the opposition would be Mr. Weitzel for, sorry, the member from South Central Islands.
So no. Thank you. So noted. The chair recognizes the member for Bamboo Town.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I would also like to inform the House that the whip for the government side will be the honorable member for Fox Hill, and the deputy whip will be the member for Golden Gates.
Thank you, honorable member. It has been moved and seconded that the House do now adjourn. As many as are in favor will stand.
All right.